Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where in the world you are. We have over 1,000 people registered and listening in today for this webinar, Boosting Claims Efficiency with Digital Technologies. I think one of the reasons that we have such a strong attendance and an interest here is that everybody in the industry has realized that, claims is the moment of truth. That may be overused, but not overstated, I'm sure. And it is where the customer experience can be best impacted. And that's generally the theme of what we're going to cover today. We've got 5 outstanding panelists and contributors, each of whom will share some comments, and we'll have a generous Q&A period following, giving all of you a chance to submit your questions online, and we'll field as many as we can. Just a note that today's webinar is being presented in the lead up to the Connected Claims USA Summit, which takes place in Chicago on June 5th and 6th. And that will be the world's largest gathering for claims executives striving for efficient, customer-centric claims processing. I encourage you all to try and get the brochure, get some more information. My name is Stephen Applebaum. I'm the managing partner of Insurance Solutions Group. I serve as chairman for the Insurance Nexus conferences here in North America, including Connected Claims USA, and I will also be moderating the conference in part. So again, I welcome you all, and I welcome our presenters. I just will give you a briefest of overviews because I want to save time for everybody here. For today's webinar, we're trying to touch on what do customers really want. They want choice. How do we identify quick wins, simple improvements to maximize our returns, reduce our cycle times, and put smiles on our customers' faces? And then what's the future of loss adjusters? How will they be working with robotics and RPA and all the technologies we're going to touch on today? Definitely the future of loss adjusters will change. So we're going to try and get all of that plus more covered. And, I'm not going to spend any more time on opening comments because, as I said, we've got a fantastic group of presenters. Let me tell you a little bit about our first presenter, Bea Rolbiecki, who is the AVP of Senior Experience at USAA. And I think her picture, along with the pictures of all the others, will appear on the website screen momentarily on the welcome screen. So Bea joined USAA in 2018 as the AVP of and Senior Experience owner for property claims. Bea and her team are responsible for designing the claims service experience and the optimization strategy to improve business operation effectiveness and efficiency. Bea has over 20 years of experience in the P&C industry, management consulting, financial planning, wealth management, and startups. She's held multiple roles in her career in digital product management, claims strategy, and planning. She has earned an MBA with honors from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, a master's in accounting from Western Michigan University, and a bachelor degree in accounting from Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. She also holds a certified public accountant designation in Illinois. In her free time, Bea enjoys hiking, running, reading, and spending time with her husband, Steve Rolbiecki. Let me introduce Bea.
Thank you, Stephen. And thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here and share and have discussion about digital and claims, which is one of my favorite topics. At USAA, our mission is to facilitate the financial security of our members, associates, and their families through provision of a full range of highly competitive products and service. And in so doing, we seek to be the provider of choice for the military community. As you all know, we offer our members P&C insurance products. And as our members serve our country and keep us safe, in claims, we serve our members by taking care of them when they have unfortunate incidents resulting in claims. Our claim service is best in class, and we strive to keep that level of service on both the phone and on the digital channel. And we're very passionate about providing the most empathetic and digitally connected claim experience to our members. Our members can report and manage the claims online. They can provide feedback online so that we can continue to improve. We provide multiple platforms that our members can choose to interact with us. And our aspiration is to humanize the digital experience. And by saying humanize, we mean we personalize or look to personalize the members' experience online. And also, our frontline employees are well known for their focus on serving members and how they care for the members and make the empathetic connections. And we strive to make this special human touch be felt on the digital channel as well. And our digital experience is based on our deep research to understand members' needs. In addition to our goal to humanize the digital experience, we look to develop further in areas that help us better serve our members. Our members and their vehicle and homes are more connected than ever. They participate in a shared economy. Their lifestyle are changing and their expectations are rising based on their interactions with other service providers. So we continue to improve our digital capability to be more connected and convenient for our members. Our Chief Claim Officer often says, speed and ease is the new empathy. So we're working on that, and we're exploring our Internet of Things, AI, and machine learning area as well to make that vision come true. And lastly, we're also focusing on utilizing the digital technologies to improve our employee experience. In our view, second to our members, our adjusters have the hardest jobs in the world. So we look to incorporate automation and machine learning and AI in the claim handling so that our employees can do their jobs well and focus more time on serving our members. At USAA, we believe that if we take care of our employees, they will take care of our members. And that's how we live our mission. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Bea, very much. I'm sure that we'll have a lot of questions for you following during the Q&A period. Thanks for the overview. We really appreciate it. Our next presenter is Patrick Kloss, who is an associate with American Family Ventures. And Patrick lives in Oakland, California, works in San Francisco. And prior to joining American Family Ventures, he was a director of business operations for Bunker, one of their portfolio companies. Before Bunker, Patrick spent 4 years at American Family Insurance. He holds a Bachelor of Science from the University of Wisconsin in Applied Economics. And Patrick will focus his comments on the startup community, helping carriers to digitize claims from FNOL to payment. Welcome, Patrick, and please go ahead.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm Patrick Kloss. I'm an associate here with American Family Ventures. As Stephen referenced, I'm not representing American Family Insurance's claim department. There's a world-class team headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin, that's focused on helping our customers restore their lives and dreams, policyholders restore their lives and dreams in the unfortunate event of a claim. I don't work very closely with that team, but I do spend a lot of time in the market working with startups that are looking at the claims process, either from, a full end experience, being an MGA or some form of a tech-enabled carrier, or I think there are a lot more startups coming up in the space that are focused on being a software provider for carriers, helping carriers digitize and enable their claims process. So it's something that we've been thinking really closely about. Taking a step back, American Family Ventures is a venture capital fund that launched in 2014 and has been making investments since 2013. And we write $500,000 to $5 million checks in early stage startups from Series Seed to Series B. So I've been with the team for a couple of years, headquartered in Madison, Wisconsin, but I'm out here on the West Coast in San Francisco, but live in Oakland. So I think there's a couple of things that I'm really excited about in the digitization of claims space. Primarily, I'm really excited to see startups get traction providing services specifically to carriers. And to elaborate a little more on that, I think we're at an opportunity where carriers are going to start working with startups to digitize their claims process. As Stephen referenced, that the life of a claim is so complex, from first notice of loss all the way to payment. There's so many components, so many touch points with third parties, with the customer. And I'm really looking forward to seeing carriers working closely with startups that think that they can help the carrier or the customer have a better experience. And to be more specific, I think that startups are often hindered by not having access to core systems, whether it's a technology system that integrates with the claims or a third party. And I'm seeing more and more carriers reach out to these core systems and reference that they're working with the startup and they would like to see a core system integrate with the startup. And I think that's something that's super powerful, is that carriers are starting to demand more from these core systems, and it's creating a much safer, it's just creating a more open environment that's enabling the claims process to become more efficient through interacting with startups. Another interesting point that I'm excited about is these MGAs that are out there selling policies. They are starting to have claims, and they're starting to have customers have claims. I think that they're having to learn just how difficult and how hard it is to process a claim, effectively, like Bea referenced, just delighting the customer in a really difficult time. So I'm excited to see kind of how MGAs and these smaller startups, like some of my panelists afterward at Swyfft, or how they're doing it. I'm excited to hear from John about just what does that look like, and how do you continue to delight customers, and as one of these early startups, one of these scrappy startups. So we're starting to see startups in pretty much all the components of the claims process, whether it's communicating with customers or whether it's helping figure out CAT events and where does hail really fall. I'm just really excited about what the next 12 to 18 months look like, whether it's from a carrier perspective or whether it's from a startup perspective. And so I look forward to everyone's questions, and I will give the mic back to Stephen.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm sure you'll get lots of questions. We're going to change the order of presentation, if you don't mind. I'm going to ask John Langowski to make comments next. John is the Chief Claims Officer of Swyfft. He joined Swyfft in 2018 and has over 25 years of experience as both a claims professional and a software executive in the P&C industry. During his career, he frequently served as a national industry speaker. His insight and expertise on claims processing and service provider management has been published both nationally and internationally. I think it would be interesting to share a little more background. John's career evolved from a mail clerk in an underwriting department to serving as a C-suite claims leader of one of the fastest growing national P&C homeowner carriers in the country. His successful brand building initiatives for various companies where he worked included assignments such as turnaround situations, startup departments, mergers and acquisitions, and claims software design. Working for companies such as Erie, Nationwide, Farmers, and UPC have given him experience in driving results, developing leadership teams, and building effective claims ecosystems. John holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Regis University in Denver, Colorado, and multiple industry designations. It's my pleasure to introduce John Langowski.
Thanks, Stephen. And apparently I have at least one individual who's interested in my story. So thanks, Patrick. Thanks for the intro. But
anytime, you're welcome.
Yeah, right. Sure. So I'm a little different from my counterparts here on the call, where I am one of those MGAs that Patrick mentioned. We are a pure digital platform. So there was an article last year by McKinsey, whoever follows McKinsey, and they called companies like myself who are pure digital business models as attackers, because we're out there raising the bars on how people actually go out and acquire insurance or buy an insurance policy. And there are others like Swyfft. Not too many, but there's enough that are starting to come up and starting to grow and make a little bit of an impact in the market. So what differentiates Swyfft is, number one, I am an MGA. So I'm available to multiple carriers as a distribution channel, so they can look at me and say, hey, we want to grow our business in a certain market with a certain product, and we want to do it the way that Swyfft does it, a digital experience for the customer. So our claim to fame, like the Hippos and the Lemonades and some of the others internationally, are you can go online and we can give you a binder policy and a very reasonable rate, a very competitive rate within minutes. So you go on the web and we only ask you one question, and that's your address, right? So once you give us your address and you type it in online, we then use technology to pull data from multiple unique sources in various industries, including NOAA. We use LiDAR technology. So with all the data points, we understand your distance to coast, we understand the construction of your house, the make of your house, and any data that is tied to that footprint of that property that you want to insure within seconds, about 6 seconds. And we have patented rating machine or rating methods that we use that data to calculate a rate based on what we know about your property. So we spit all that out in about 6 seconds, and we give you a policy and a quote right there. And that's it. That's really it. So within minutes, you can now get a homeowner policy. And now we offer that fast and friendly, easy experience with reasonable rates that you don't usually get traditionally, right? So you don't have to fill out multiple forms and answer 3 pages of questions about your trampoline or prior losses or anything of that nature, because we've already pulled in the data and we probably know more about your property than you do. So at Swyfft, so now it's that big digital platform, and that's Swyfft now as the chief claims officer. My challenge is that I have to mirror that front end experience, right? So it's fast, easy, friendly, right? So what we like to say at Swyfft is that we're fast and friendly. That's the reason, the name for Swyfft with the Y. But with claims, I have the same challenges as everybody else, here within the U.S. and abroad as to how we service. What is it from a digital perspective that we provide that differentiates us from claims handling that everybody else does, though? So we don't just grab any shiny object because it's shiny and we use that somehow. We really pay attention to what consumers really need. So I pay attention to J.D. Power. I pay attention to some other publications, and really what local agents across the country are saying and what their demands are and what consumers really want. So for example, and I'm sure most folks on this call really pay attention to J.D. Power and their annual surveys about our industry, and especially about the claims handling. Last year, J.D. Power said that homeowner claims experience is at the all-time high in satisfaction. And a big part of that is because of claim information sharing. We collaborate with the policyholders. We share information with the policyholders. Last year, post Hurricane Irma, the Florida Association of Independent Agents, the FAIA, all got together and put together a survey and a communication to all the executives of Florida insurers to say, hey, here's what you really need to do to make the claims experience better for agents as well as policyholders. And they said one of the most common themes was a claims portal. You need to share more information. And the interesting part about that survey, that feedback from all those folks impacted in Florida, was, we want this information within 72 hours. So it's no longer you got a week or a weekend or whatever it is to give them what they need. They want it right away. So from a digital technology perspective and servicing claims and really raising the bar, the delivery really needs to be from that perspective. And there's technology out there today available to everybody. And what I've seen, and I think what really moves the needle right away, and it moves it in a big way, is really collaborating with the policyholder, letting them access the claim documents, giving them the ability to watch the status of their claims. Every time something happens on their claim, they get a notification, whether it's on their cell phone or the email. Nowadays, most people do a lot of texting as a very popular or common form of communicating with others. And there's software out there that allows folks to text to the claims adjuster. It goes into the claim file, and you can text right back out of the claim file. And it gives them instant information. It's easy to do, and it documents that claim file. It allows the customers to participate in a claim. And really what's key to customer experience, whether it's digitized or not, is that the process is timely. The customers are informed throughout the process, and they understand the outcome of that process. So when we think of digital technology, make sure that whatever it is you employ, which is what we do, even on the front end, is that experience, that those goals are met. It's timely, it's informative, and they understand there's clarity when it's all said and done. And that's really what Swyfft does. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, John. It's interesting. So far, we've had three, very different backgrounds, three very different perspectives, but everything focused on claims and the customer and the experience. We're going to continue the theme. I'm going to introduce Daniel Regan.
Thank you.
Daniel is Vice President of Financial Services for Financial Services Industry at SAP Ariba. He spent over 19 years with SAP Ariba, the last 10 of which were focused on the financial service industry. He currently manages North America, assisting customers and prospects with the SAP Ariba Solutions portfolio. Daniel, it's a real pleasure to introduce you. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you for having me here. This morning for me, team. I'm actually calling in from vacation in Hawaii, so don't hold that against me. You'll probably feel more empathetic when you realize I'm from Buffalo, New York. So it's nice to get out of the bitter cold. And with that story, I just want to share a quick story. Maybe most are not aware that starting in 2012, SAP went on a strategic path to make strategic acquisitions of what I may term the best of breed. So these best of breed startup companies, and one of them being SAP Ariba. As you see that we're one of the sponsors, and I look forward to having this dialogue with many of you coming up here in early June in Chicago. The acquisition of SAP, truly the core investment, over $4 billion, and these are public dollars that I'm stating, so I just want to show the emphasis of the importance, was around the intelligent network. But that acquisition didn't hold there. The acquisition of Fieldglass also came into play, world-class from a services management, contingent labor management, all the way through up to 2018 with the acquisition of Qualtrics, best of breed and customer experience, all in total a $14 billion investment in technology, which we have at our fingertips in the insurance industry to truly drive a deep customer experience. Just one more data point around this story. When you think about the intelligent network, it has a trailing $3 trillion of investments that flow through that, or shall I say spend that flows through that, larger than Alibaba, Amazon, and eBay combined. Truly the largest network globally, moreover the most intelligent network. Important pieces like this, such as 1,000 individuals globally serving our customers with enabling their service providers to ensure that there is satisfaction. When I sat last year at the Connected Claims Conference, and I won't name the name of the institution, but let's say one of the top 5 insurers today, their chief claims officer made a bold statement and said, yes, customer experience absolutely is number one, but what he was arguing is that the satisfaction of the service provider is truly a close second, and actually you cannot achieve the first one without having satisfied service providers. And that's where the SAP family comes in. We look at how we're having choice and building an omni-channel. I guess my tenure, which I have to argue this year goes on 20 years, I've seen a lot of, if you may, marketplaces come and go, those that were serving the large automotive and so forth, and significant investment. If you're going to look at the true intelligent network that has survived the last 20 years, that has the biggest impact in the insurance market today, you could start tomorrow with the SAP Intelligent Network, like many of your other colleagues. It's simple. It's built and supported today, so there's a quick win. You're going to have a deep impact with your customer experience by connecting your claims environment to this intelligent network. And a key piece I want to mention here is that when the adjuster goes in to take advantage of this rich service provider information, this preferred service provider, those with deep performance information around them, they're maintaining this all within their own claims environment. And in essence, taking advantage of the vendor management fields that you have within your claims environment, having that be populated by the intelligent network. So when the loss adjuster is working on a program, they can step in and have rich information from the beginning. So I look at that as not only quick to market, but really driving customer satisfaction. If you can imagine that information that they're using is not from an Excel spreadsheet, not from a Post-it note, not from their years of experience, but a very user-friendly tool that's appealing to the new generation of the workforce to pick a preferred vendor that not only drives customer experience, but those that also are cognitive to the needs of the organization in managing and watching for overall costs and savings. And with that, I just want to take a moment to mention the most recent acquisition, Qualtrics. That acquisition was $8 billion, double the earlier mentioned acquisitions. And I think that built into this overall program. Now, this is relatively new and fresh, and look for a different dialogue around this for us. We just closed out that acquisition a month ago, but if we take that story from 2012 and that initial investment in the world's most sophisticated intelligent network, and then bring it forward to today and look at, by and large, the best of breed around customer experience solution with Qualtrics. The SAP family has a deep portfolio of buying these best of breed startup technologies and supporting you and serving you with them today. I look forward to the questions and look forward to meeting all you in person here in a few months. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Daniel. That is really interesting to understand the collection of assets and the power of the network that you described. We're going to look forward to questions during Q&A. Our next and last presenter before the Q&A period is Allan Robinson. And I want to mention a couple of things just before I share some background about Allan. All of the companies represented by today's speakers will be in attendance and participating in the Connected Claims USA Summit. Several of today's presenters are actually speaking at the conference, but as I said, all the companies they represent will be there. And I wanted to share and introduce Allan Robinson and note, if you look carefully at his title on the welcome screen that you're looking at, I doubt that anybody has ever heard a title that includes EVP of Field Operations, Sales, and Chief Claims Officer. I've had the pleasure of hearing Allan present before, and he kind of explains how he made his way to this set of responsibilities, but it's my pleasure to have Allan back again. I'm just going to briefly share some background and let him share his comments. So Allan is Horace Mann Senior Vice President of Claims, in addition to his other hats. He has more than 30 years of industry experience, and before joining Horace Mann in September of 2015, Allan was head of personal and commercial line claims at Hanover. Prior to that, he spent 27 years at Allstate, holding a variety of claims roles from frontline claims adjuster to senior executive positions. He holds a bachelor's degree from the College of William and Mary and has earned his CPCU designation as well. He's an avid runner, and he's completed the Boston Marathon. Please welcome Allan Robinson.
Thanks, Stephen. Good morning, everybody, or good evening or afternoon. I've enjoyed listening to other colleagues, and I appreciate the kind introduction. Actually, 35 years in 2019. Started in insurance right out of college, and the vast majority of that has been in multiple claim roles. Ending up in chief claim officer roles, and now having the responsibility to lead a field sales operation. So kind of offers a unique perspective. I'm with Horace Mann for folks that are or aren't familiar with Horace Mann, we're the largest publicly traded multi-line insurer focused on American educators. We were founded by educators for educators in 1945, and we really help educators protect what they have today and prepare for tomorrow by understanding their unique educator unique needs. So pleased to be on the on the panel, and I was going to just offer some opening remarks relative to some of the topics that are near and dear to my heart. First, is really a focus around from the claim perspective around cycle time. I think what's interesting in cycle time, and particularly with all the advances in technology in the digital space, is that cycle time is one of those things in claims that that gives you sort of a trifecta of benefit across the organization. And as we all know, claims don't get better with age, but as we work to improve cycle time, you get a customer impact benefit, so improvements in customer experience, certainly a loss adjustment expense benefit, as well as we get better at paying the appropriate amount on each and every claim through through those improvements in loss cost management. So lots of work that has been done in the industry, and I'll keep my remarks more from an industry perspective, but also certainly things that we're focusing on here within Horace Mann, but lots of work in the auto space, and certainly it'd be interested to get questions and feedback around all the work from ranging from customer self-service to improvements in first notice of loss. I think everybody's in the straight-through processing arena and express handling, or moving to technology through photo apps on the auto side, or segmentation of type of loss and methods of inspection. So that work, I think every carrier has probably pretty far down the path. I think emerging trends, certainly in the predictive analytics space, whether that be in helping better define fraud or subrogation opportunity, and then I think the one last thing on the auto side that I think is an opportunity is, and I see it more wearing the sales hat, is really leveraging the strong data in claims and taking that and better informing underwriting, as well as sales on the product side and customer needs. So I think that's a real opportunity. But I was gonna focus just a couple minutes on what I think is a larger opportunity on a go forward basis in the industry, and that's really in the property space, and certainly with the myriad of of weather events that have plagued the industry in recent years, and certainly with global warming, more and more of I think a need and a focus around how to improve homeowner claim handling, and taking some of the same learnings in auto and applying those in the homeowner space. So better information on the front end, better segmentation of claims, whether that be outside claims and the use of drones and roof inspections with hail. But then I think on the inside, very peril specific handling and the ability to whether that be through video or photo, process claims more rapidly through technology on the inside part of the claim as well. So looking forward to spending some time talking about maybe some opportunity there and some of the things that we're doing. And with that, I know we're probably trying to be efficient on time, so I'll pitch it back to you, Stephen. Thanks.
Thank you, Allan. And yes, we're going to get into Q&A in just a moment. And matter of fact, I'd like to kick off Q&A with a question of my own. I don't plan to hog all the time, but I can't help, Allan. You mentioned the bigger opportunity, the newer opportunity in property and digitization of property and improving the homeowner's claim process. Can I ask you, why do you think it is that the property process has lagged behind the auto process for all these years?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think most carriers, probably the majority of the business is auto. Oftentimes, auto is the lead line, and then you get the auto, and then ultimately have an opportunity for the home and the overall household. So there's been certainly, if the mix is 70-30, there's been more focus on auto. Whether that be technology, whether that be through direct repair programs, whether that be through segmentation, of work, et cetera. And so, the homeowner space, let's face it, if the weather's good, then, the homeowner claim, assembly line kind of runs along, and the primary perils tend to be theft and fire. But I think with weather and more severe weather becoming the norm, the challenge for carriers is how do you continue down the regular claim handling, but also what I'll call wall off and provide efficient handling in the catastrophe space or non-catastrophe space that's weather. So I think it's coming about because of just increased numbers of homeowner claims. And I think equally as an auto, there's just a real opportunity to take advantage of technology and be much more effective and efficient in the way in which those are handled. But both in traditional claims that have been handled on the outside, those would be, more roof and maybe hail type claims. But I think more and more with video, with phone, the ability to take images and then bring those in and certainly prepare estimates via photos. I think more and more of the perils lend themselves to that, and with that you get an improvement in customer satisfaction and certainly an improvement in effectiveness and efficiency in the LAE, and you also have the ability to manage large numbers of claims in a very efficient manner, because the trick, as we all know, with having heavy weather years, is keeping the normal claims going, but also being effective in handling the more severe weather claims, and there's also a real customer benefit, and certainly an opportunity to improve the customer experience on those as well.
Thanks very much, Allan. I really appreciate it. I asked a simple question and I got a fantastic answer, so thank you. Pardon me, everybody. Little bit of laryngitis, nothing serious. I'm going to start with one of the many questions that are already popping up here and give everybody a chance to engage on the panel, and maybe ask Bea to start, since it's been a while since she's had a chance to speak. But the question for each of you is, what is the key lesson that you could share about moving claims to the digital space? Bea?
Moving claims, lessons learned. What are the key lessons learned for moving claims to the digital space?
Yep.
I think two insights we can share is probably that put members or your customers first when building those digital experience. I see too many carriers build digital experience inside out. By that I mean they export their claims system and processes to their customers, and that's when you might have great capability, but you will not get adoption, and you're not improving the customer experience. So my insight and learning is you always have to build your digital capability outside in. Look at it from the member experience and design your processes and your technology from that lens. So that's one key insight. And Another insight I would share is, in order to move fast in the digital technology to keep up with the member rising expectations, speed and agility is key. Test and learn is key. There are many ideas in terms of digital capability that seems to make sense and sound logical, but unless you really test it in real time and see how members or your customers respond to it, you're really not going to know the effectiveness in terms of both the member or customer experience, the adoption, and how it works on your claims, improving your claim processes. So that would be my two.
Thank you, Bea, very much. Thank you again. That's a great segue, actually, over to Patrick. I think it's a great segue for his perspective on that question, speaking from a startup community perspective. So, Patrick, key lesson to share about moving claims to the digital space.
Yeah, I think Bea did an excellent job representing from a carrier's perspective. From talking with CEOs, founders of these startups, they really iterate what Bea said, which is, you have to have a hyper focus on both the needs of the customer, the policyholder, and the carrier, because carriers are so focused on delivering an excellent claims experience to their customers. And so there's this appropriate concern and fear about, what is the startup doing? They don't have any track record. Can I trust them? And so being able to demonstrate that trust and being able to work alongside, understand that carriers need to be able to deliver on claims. And so there's this being able to understand that and be able to come in and work at their speed. Carriers have to go through a lot of processes to make any changes to a claims process, because that's probably appropriate, because you want to deliver such excellent customer experience. And so I think from a startup experience, being able to say, listen, this is the problem we're solving, and this is how we think we can come into your system, and be able to work with that carrier to make those changes. And that might be at a pace that you're not comfortable with, but understanding that claims is kind of, I believe you said, the moment of truth, right? And so startups that really understand that this is the moment of truth and appreciate that, I think that's the way you have to come in with that mindset.
Thanks very much. I'm going to move to Daniel Regan, and Daniel, if you'd like, maybe you could work into your response there. You touched upon, or you used the expression intelligent network. So I'd like to understand, I'd like the audience to understand what makes the network intelligent, and what are the key lessons from your perspective as you work with clients to move claims to the digital space.
Well, thank you so much. First and foremost, I appreciate Patrick's statement there around the ultimate focus, around what the customer experience is, the service provider and the carrier. And I'm going to go right in the middle of the meat of that sandwich and go toward the service provider again, or if we made / vendor. And the intelligent network is essentially fully digitizing the experience between the carrier and the service provider. And if you take the fact that the organization we've mentioned have been actually in service since 1999, truly 20 years, that experience of how we served other industries, and they have moved their service provider / vendor experience to 98-99% touchless efficiencies, from a requisition to a digitally paid invoice, as well as a choreograph of documents that are shared back and forth. So I'll take one example. With this world that we live in today, everybody's keen to say, well, artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is fantastic. Certainly SAP as a company and our Leonardo, with tons of development around this, and ecosystems with APIs that allow our other providers to work within our ecosystem. But right now, in the intelligent network, a service provider can submit their invoice, and it can be against the contract line by line and validated to its accuracy. And if it's not, it's returned back to the service provider, and then finally brought back into the carrier with that accuracy. That amount of truly digital, touchless with your preferred service providers, and with that rich information on their performance that's at the fingertips of the adjusters and those in the organization.
Sorry, forgot my mute button was on. Thank you, Daniel. Allan, considering that you are the triple threat, field operations, sales, and chief claims officer, how do you look at the question, key lesson about moving claims to the digital space?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. And much of my colleagues here, I think have commented on it. So I won't repeat, but I might take a slightly different angle and come at it from a claim representative or claim adjuster lens, which I was one at one point in my career. And that is, I think when you hear about, digital and you hear about technology, oftentimes there's a tendency to feel like, this means we no longer, we no longer in the industry will be needing claim representatives. And that's simply not the case. I think, roles change. But what's exciting, I think, with digitization and technology is that the role of the claim representative is going to continue to get, I think, better and better and more and more interesting, because the types of claims will be, I think, more and more interesting, and the opportunity to really investigate and evaluate and appropriately settle claims will be enriched by taking a lot of the more simple and the less complex claims, out of the equation. So I kind of like to come at it from that standpoint. I think it's exciting times that allows us to kind of get the best of both and improve the customer experience, but also improve the role and really the job of the claim representative, and make it a really much more fulfilling role than it's probably even been in the past. So that's kind of my take on it, a little different take.
Thanks, Allan. Very interesting. John, speaking from the perspective of the MGA with the digital platform, same question to you. How would you answer it?
So my experience has been, not only as a claims professional most of my career, but also I sat on the other side of the table as a software professional as well, servicing the claims industry. So I've sat down with a lot of carriers and a lot of adjusting firms, and have heard their woes, and have tried to help them with the problems that they perceive. And a lot of times, actually almost all the time, we as an industry can continue to handle claims according to what is convenient to us versus what is the customer's perspective. And so I think everybody here on the panel has pretty much echoed that look, you really need to figure out what's good for the customer. And whenever my staff comes in, they say, hey, Lankowski, this is really what we want to do. We want to change this. We want to add this. We think this is really important for us to either stop this or start this. And I always ask them, well, if you had a panel of policyholders sitting on the other side of the table right there, and you propose what it is you're proposing to me to them, what would the policyholders say, right? So what's the customer's response? Will the customer say, I like it, man, that's really helpful, I dig it, or no, that doesn't really help me, it helps you, not me, or I don't really care about any of this, right? So you really have to figure out whenever you, like I said earlier, we at Swyfft, our offering is from the customer's perspective, right? Nobody wants to fill out a lot of forms and spend a lot of time with an agent or through some other vehicle and getting a homeowner insurance policy. And it's the same way with the claims experience. So everything's from the customer's perspective. And I think the real challenge for us, you say, well, what are the lessons learned? You have to, there's really three things. And it doesn't really matter what you're trying to implement. You have to first figure out who you want to be, right? So every one of us on this call, we have a different brand, right? We have a different idea of what really makes us who we are, right? And you also have to look at whatever it is you want to implement. Does this fit with who you want to be? I see a lot of times where carriers and adjusting firms, they just don't know who they want to be. They don't know who they should be, right? They just don't know. They don't understand the opportunities out there either. And then the next shiny thing that comes on, they grab it, but they've got to figure out number one. And the last thing is, as I said before, how does this impact the customer experience? Now, there are more things to consider in claims than just the customer experience, right? But all things support the customer experience, but I'm also worried about price, right? So my efficiencies, what my optimal costs are with my efficiencies, et cetera. But so lesson learned is just don't grab the next best thing out there. I spent a lot of time, both as a claims executive and a software executive, trying to teach and understand what the problems are and how to fix them. A lot of it's education, right? So I think the first step is when I ask the first question here, who do you want to be? There really needs to be some perspective. Bea was very distinct in USAA, right? So she explained what USAA is, who they are, who they service, what makes them special. So everything they do is related to that. And nothing more, right? And she didn't say anything about, well, we only implement it if we have the resources, or if it fits our priorities, or if the price is right. No. And so we also have to remember that we do all have resource constraints, but we cannot let those things get in the way. And when I ask those three questions, who do you want to be? Does this fit? And how does this impact the customer? Notice I didn't ask anywhere, do I have enough resources? When can I get this done? How much does it cost? Because guys like me, like Swyfft, all the attackers, the hippos, the lemonades, everybody out there, we're here, and we've raised the bar, and so that experience from the digital perspective is coming. And I'm not saying beware, and I'm a dangerous guy, but we're here and we're successful because consumers want this kind of an experience, and they're starting to demand it. So really, that's my advice. Just figure who you want to be, if it fits, and how does it impact the customer.
Thanks, John. Very interesting. As you were speaking, I was thinking about the mantra in the banking industry, which the expression they use is "know your customer," and it has actually a very deep meaning. It sounds superficial, but it has a very deep meaning for that industry, and I think you're focused in a similar way. So thank you for that. I have a question here for Daniel, specifically back to SAP. Can you give an example of how digital can improve efficiencies? And I'm going to assume that is claims efficiencies.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. I think digital, right? It certainly is the buzzword of today, and certainly very, very important at a C-level of how we're driving efficiencies within the digital world today. And if we come back to the case example within claims specific, and I think even the example of why has it been latent that we've gone after property, there is such an ability to broaden with this. We didn't move into other subjects. For example, what would happen if there is a marketplace where that customer can actually make their true choices about what the replacement would be. An individual comes into the home, accidentally bumps in the TV, knocks it off the wall, to enable them to just quickly go on, like an Amazon experience, with their proper claims process, but have that to be digitized. And within a couple of days, that TV shows up. I mean, what happens when you have that level of satisfaction within your customer experience and building on the best practices and efficiencies that large software entities like SAP are innovating and developing today? And I close with this. Some of the mentions of the dollars of the investment of acquisition fails in comparison to what's happening with innovation within SAP and to driving a digital core experience with their customers. It truly is, strategic to SAP, and hopefully that's helpful in definition there.
Thanks very much, Daniel. Believe it or not, we've actually used up almost our entire hour, but in the time remaining, I have a question here that I'd like to ask each of you to try to answer in approximately 45 seconds or less, and I think that's going to be possible. The question is how to identify the quick wins that can reduce claims life cycle. And Bea, if you don't mind, I'd like to start with you.
How do we identify the quick win that can reduce the claim life cycle or throughout the claim life cycle?
That can reduce the claims life cycle.
Okay, that can reduce the claim life cycle.
Yep. Some people call this low-hanging fruit, right?
Low-hanging fruit, yeah. So for me, I'm going to go back to our members again, which is our focus. To me, it's understanding the member journey, what they go through, and what they need to do, step in the process, how they feel, and then supplement that with data to understand throughout the member journey, how long does it take? And then when you do the member journey map, you will understand also that why does it take that long? And then that's a way to identify where your problem is and then start to prioritize, and you'll start to see quick wins. Some of the things are easy to fix.
Thanks very much, Bea. Patrick, in your experience from the InsurTech side or the startup side, what are you seeing for quick wins that give these companies a chance to lift off? Patrick, are you with us? I can move to
sorry.
Daniel.
I'm
okay.
sorry. Mute issue.
Okay.
From a venture capital perspective, in InsurTech specifically, we are very comfortable with the idea of landing and expanding. So, if you say we have this really low-hanging fruit, whether it's the way we communicate with policyholders or whether it's how we do the decision tree of a claim or how we source parts for auto damage, and say, that's my land, this low-hanging fruit, and carriers trust this startup. And then we're going to build trust, and then we're going to expand our services and our products. That's something that I think we're going to see a lot more of in insurance. So I love the question, because if you know you have a low-hanging fruit, don't be afraid to go after that and then build products and services that expand once you've built trust with the carrier. Because if you build trust with the carrier, you've presumably built trust with the customer and the policyholder, and that means the world to carriers. So that would be my advice for startups.
Thanks so much. Daniel, have you got a relatively short response to reducing claims life cycle and low-hanging fruit opportunities?
Yeah, I passionately believe that a low-hanging fruit that all from this conversation today can walk away with is contact myself or anybody from my team from SAP Ariba and hear the story of not only the largest, but the top largest carriers today who have taken advantage of connecting to the intelligent network and driving that digital experience with their service providers. It's something that you could turn on tomorrow and be appreciative of the opportunity to review that with you.
Thanks so much. Allan, how about yourself? You've got a lot of experience. What's been the quick hits for you on the claims life cycle?
You got it. So I'll start with auto quick. And I mentioned some of these. I think just a focus around better segmentation at time of loss, more straight-through processing, and that gives you the ability to handle more of these claims quicker, reducing rental storage, total loss prediction, et cetera. I agree with Daniel wholeheartedly. Contact is an issue in the industry, and the better and the more effective you are at making contact, I think you enormously can reduce cycle time. And I would offer up that texting is a real opportunity there because folks are busy and often hard to get a hold of. So that's on the auto space. On the property, I said it in my opening. I think there is an enormous opportunity to handle more claims inside versus outside and telephonically and through video and through photo, et cetera. So by improving the customer experience and enabling you to handle your regular claims in addition to your weather claims.
Thank you, Allan. John, we're approaching overtime, but can you share?
Sure. So I would just recommend to automate menial tasks, right? So claims is a very task-driven process. Allan repeatedly has used the word segmentation, and it's true. You go from one step to the next step, A, B, C, and most of the time you don't skip a step. You go right through it. There's a lot of manual processes out there, processes that can be automated with, as Patrick said before. There's a lot of startups that offer quick hits, easy integration, powerful APIs. You can turn them on tomorrow as a standalone or easily to integrate with your own system. And you can push matters along from processing invoices to, auto-populating letters and creating automation that way. There's still so many carriers and adjusting firms out there that still have to manually complete letters and save letters to the desktop and save them as a PDF and do this. And just real simple things would dramatically cut your processing time, which is really what really drives cycle time. Bea mentioned earlier, you have to figure out what it is that drives your cycle time. And I'm working with a team right now that we're trying to write a field estimate within 11 minutes. Okay, that's great, but why is it taking me 2 weeks to solve the claim when I wrote the estimate in 11 minutes? That's because of all the processes. And so we're very task-oriented as a claims industry, and that's great, but we need to get rid of those tasks. And I think when you cut down cycle time, you get rid of those processes. We just write down a brass tacks with the adjusters when they get the stuff. So there you go.
Thanks so much, and thanks to all of our presenters. Thanks to SAP Ariba for sponsoring today's webinar. I hope to see you all at Connected Claims USA Summit. Don't forget to register this week, save $300 on registration, and request the brochure from the link on the screen. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day or evening as it may be, and we'll see you soon.